Gentlemen, welcome right here to Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I'm excited to be with you today. Yes, I'm excited because it is important for us to be grateful. Because you have life, you're not in the hospital, you're not going through any dire health condition, you are alive. And you're healthy and all your limbs are working. You don't have to take any specific drug to go through the day. You're not using any instruments whatsoever to dispose anything out of your system. You are alive, you are healthy with all the challenges that we went through this year 2024. And you are here listening to this program, watching me live on YouTube. Trust me, it gives everything to be grateful to God. So I am grateful. Once again, good evening. Welcome to the Political Spotlight and obviously compliments of the season. Today is quite a remarkable day. Do you know why I said it's remarkable? It's remarkable because today is the final edition of the Political Spotlight for the year 2024. Today is December 29 and the plan is to go do what you call a review of Nigeria's controversial political issues for the year 2024. That's basically what we're going to be doing today. Just a very short rundown of controversial issues and of course some very recent developments in the political arena. So I would implore you to actually tune in right now to 90.3 FM on Voice of the People. All right. And of course we actually stream. That is, we're also virtually running this program. So go on YouTube to be part of the conversation virtually and see how the program is running. So go on YouTube, type 90.3 FM on the city concerns over CNG power vehicles. I mean the government's ongoing efforts to promote the fuel as a safer and more affordable alternative to petrol. Now, as 2024 nears its end, obviously there are major in the year. Now, one of those issues is concerning Yahaya Bello and the EFCC circus. We saw how that transpired. It gave Nigerians plenty drama in 2024 with what seemed like a cat and dog circus. The controversy surrounding Yahaya Bello's financial activities during his tenure as Kogi State Governor escalated dramatically as the EFCC filed charges against him for embezzlement of public funds. Bello successfully evaded arrest for months and seemed to have his successor, Governor Ahmed Naira. He also faced an additional 16-count charge alongside two Kogi state officials, Abdusalami Hudu and Umar Oricha. Now, despite efforts to apprehend him, including public summons published in national newspapers, Bello remained elusive. The EFCC chair had actually said that if Bello is not prosecuted, he will step down. And for months, he wasn't prosecuted. For months, he evaded arrest. He was even declared wanted by Interpol, despite them knowing that he was residing within the, residence of Usman Ododo, the governor of Kogi State. And then in a very dramatic event, he actually presented himself to the EFCC headquarters where they refused to apprehend him at the time, saying that due process wasn't followed. The EFCC told us publicly that Yahaya Bello did not come to their station, despite us seeing videos and pictures of him and his legal team, coming in their entourage to, the EFCC office. And then afterwards, we now heard gunshots where he was being lodged in the night by EFCC officials. Well, as it stands now, Yahaya Bello has actually been given a bail of 500 million naira, and he's actually at home while he is accused of attempting to destabilize President Bola Tinubu's government. Subsequently, Amnesty International condemned the detention, criticizing the Nigerian government for holding minors in such conditions. In response to growing concerns, President Tinubu directed the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, a senior advocate of Nigeria, to review the cases of the detained minors, a human rights lawyer, and urged the government to provide them with educational support. Now, quite ironical, when those children were asked to be released, we started seeing adults. You remember the police public prosecutor of that case said a lot of them were married, some of them already were in universities and all whatnot, but the ones we saw in the courtroom were children. Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, and 4 other emirs as illegal. The deposed emirs were instructed to leave the palace within 48 hours and surrender. All properties. As the Emirate tussle intensified, the Kano House of Assembly introduced a bill to create second-class emirates in the state. The proposed legislation aimed to form 3 new emirates, which would fall under Muhammadu Sanusi, the second emir of Kano. Now, the national grid's incessant collapses of course, in 2024, experienced 12 national grids. Rather, it even happened simultaneously. In a week, we had 3 national grid failure. While the Minister of Power had eventually responded to it, he called it the cause for such collapse was a cause of vandalism. That's what he claimed. He said that this had finished about 6,000 megawatts. Unfortunately, it as to why we were having issues with his refinery. At some point, he was asking the federal government to come and buy off his petroleum plant because of the back and forth concerning pricing or who owns majority of it. A couple of persons attributed some political nuances involved in the process. So, of course, we also saw cabinet reshuffle. President Tinubu reshuffled his cabinet, adjusting many key ministerial roles to enhance the government's ability to address Nigeria's critical issues, which include security, economic recovery, and social development. Some ministers were reassigned to different portfolios, while certain positions were merged or abolished. We saw the removal of Ajurin Galali. We saw the removal of the former DSS boss. We also saw Uju Ohaneye, too, former Minister of Women Affairs, as well, removed. So we saw a couple of reshuffling in the cabinet, and we're wondering why were ministers whom Nigerians think were not properly functional not removed. A lot of controversy surrounded the fact that the president was appointing persons from his ethnic region and that there was no federal character represented in his cabinet reshuffle or in his appointment, whereby one of his aides had to respond as to those who occupy the president's cabinet coming from a certain region, as opposed to the fact that more of them are coming from the president's region. Well, the Ministry of Niger Delta Development was renamed the Ministry of Regional Development. The Ministry of Sports was dissolved, and the Ministry of Tourism and Arts and Culture. Timi and Afe Babalola saga, the controversy actually emerged, and we know what transpired. The book, according to Afe Babalola, contains defamatory statements about him, 95-year-old senior advocate of Nigeria. The accusations were linked to Fari claims that Babalola had been complicit in the corruption of the Nigerian Supreme Court justices, along with other senior advocates of Nigeria. Fari was arrested and charged with defamation and cyberbullying at both the Federal High Court in Ekiti and the Magistrate Court in Ado-Ekiti. So, following his arrest, Fari was remanded in custody in addition to legal proceedings. Babalola's law firm petitioned the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee to have Fari removed from the role of Nigerian lawyers. In addition, a court order was issued by the FCT in Abuja for the confiscation of all physical copies of Faritime's book, citing its defamatory content directed at Babalola. Then we had the Ondo election as well. That was also another controversial situation in Nigeria's political landscape. The Edo election, which is still in court at the moment. And we saw one of the House of Rep members, Ikweche, who actually abused an Uber rider, and we knew how that sparked outrage, where he had to apologize, and Nigerians were calling Ajurin Galali's sacking and the feud with Bayo Onanaga. These were major prominent issues that took place in the course of 2024, and obviously the presidential media chat as well caused quite a lot of controversy too. Bayo Onanaga was also part of the process. And the clamor for Nnamdi Kanu's release too is also part of it. His appearance in court asking for Justice Binta Inyako to be recused from his case, citing bias, and she was eventually reinstated. We were expecting that somehow he would not spend Christmas and New Year within the DSS custody. Unfortunately, Nnamdi Kanu's continuous incarceration has sparked global concerns from Nigerians and supporters, and Nigerians in diaspora, and even those in other aspects of the country, calling for his release and asking the president to actually do what you call a political reconciliation to see how his release can be accelerated, despite several affirmations from some politicians as to his release. These obviously are issues that we were able to look into in the course of 2024. In the case of Dele Faritimi, since he was released, actually his bail conditions have been met. It was quite a sight to behold. The overwhelming support he received across board. He was actually thankful. I want us to listen to Dele Faritimi. He actually cried in this video. I was surprised. I wasn't expecting it. He cried in this video, thanking everybody for being part of his struggle, thanking everyone for supporting him, and asking that this is what it should be. This is the kind of conversation we should be having and the kind of unity that we should encourage in this part of the world. So let's take a listen to Fari to me. I hope that the YouTube streamer can be able to play it out as well. All right, so let's take a listen to him.
We made this mess, and it will take all of us. God the best. It will take all of us. Without all of us functioning as one, the way we made this mess together, and it will take all of us to resolve the mess that we have made. It will take all of us. Without all of us functioning as one, the way you found the grace to function as one in the last month, you all acted as one. It wasn't about being. We made this mess together, and it will take all of us to resolve the mess that we have made. It will take all of us. Without all of us functioning as one, the way you found the grace to function as one in the last month, you all acted as one. It wasn't about being Christian, being Muslim. They divided us along too many lines. Damn! We stopped being human because we became Nigerians. They divided us and we fell for it. Because you wouldn't see me as a Yoruba man, you spoke for me. Because you wouldn't see me as a Christian, you spoke for me. Because you spoke. Because you spoke. Because you spoke. Because you spoke, Nigeria couldn't happen to me. Because you spoke. The only reason Nigeria couldn't happen to me is because you spoke. You spoke. That is why Nigeria couldn't happen to me. And yeah, Nigeria couldn't happen to me.
You just listened to Fari. All right, you just listened to Fari to me there. You can hear how he was so thankful. He cried. Actually, I just imagined what he went through while he was in detention and having to come out and feel that overwhelming support from Nigerians. Meanwhile, El-rufai, of course, the former governor of Kaduna State, El-rufai, has responded to the allegations made by Farouk, a Nigerian professor of journalism based in the United States, regarding ethnic favoritism in the appointments made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, apparently, Farouk accused President Tinubu of favoring individuals from the Yoruba ethnic group for significant roles within the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. He referenced an unnamed source who suggested that Bayo Ojulari is being considered for the position of Group Managing Director of the NNPCL following the conclusion of Milikari's tenure. Farouk also highlighted the imbalanced appointments made by former President Muhammadu Buhari, who claimed to have favored the northern region during his administration. That, of course, actually caused quite a number of reactions from several quarters. Nigerians were actually, some were for and some were against. So basically, that is one other issue that we'll be looking into today. Another interesting situation is concerning the United States of Biafra. Apparently, Simon Ekpa's deputy Ngozi went into Biafran Air Force Navy Special Squads. She says that one of the things that they intend to do is to beef security, and one of the means to do that is by recruitment. She made the announcement in a statement dated December 25, where the title was Announcement of Conscription Call to Serve the United States of Biafra Security Forces. And then when she actually released that statement, well, like I said, there's something going on. There are counter orders coming from different people within the camp. So here is also another funny thing. The Minister of Information said that there is no recruitment of security forces within the United States. They said Biafra Defense Force not recruiting. ECWA's Minister of Information counters the new leader of the Biafran government in exile. They are hearing about it is not true. So the question now is, what exactly is going on? Why are they having counter information within a particular organization that is still very new? A lot of people are saying maybe the activities there are not as sincere as they claim it is. Other people say that for an organization or establishment or whatever grouping that it can be called, is too early for them to seem disorganized. A couple of persons have called it different names, but Mr. Akbarawa, who is Minister of Information under the former leadership of Simon Ekpa, has dismissed a recent announcement made by Dr. Ngozi Oramweze, the new leader of Biafran government in exile, and he says that they are not recruiting anyone into their defense arm. He's described the recruitment exercise as an attempt by Oramweze to destroy Biafra Defense Force. He urged their supporters to ignore the call by Mrs. Ngozi Oramweze. So what is going on? Ever since Simon Ekpa was taken into the Finnish custody, it seems like there is an apparent disunity. What is going on? There is the Ngozi Oramweze camp. There is also another camp. So she gives an order. Another group gives a counter order. So exactly how does this rectify the genuine Biafrans to be for? I mean, that's a major issue that a lot of people are contending with. We have quite a lot of issues, but let me introduce my guest so that he can actually give us his insight, and then obviously we'll open the phone lines. Mr. Elvis Ali Mehele, good evening and thank you for joining me today on the Political Spotlight. How are you?
Good evening, Esther, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year in advance.
And Happy New Year in advance to our esteemed listeners. We began the year 2024. And here we are today, the last edition of Political Platform for the year 2024. We are grateful God kept us.
Yes, sir.
So much happened in this nation in the year 2024. You have enumerated so many, and there are still so many, There are so many. Even if we want to take it in 3 editions, we may not even finish it. But I know in January 2024, we started on a very bad note, the Ibadan explosion that happened. So many people died, and so much property were lost. Today we heard that a panel have been set up. We've not heard the result of that panel. This is why most times when we hear the federal or state government is talking about setting up panel, when anything of this nature happen in Nigeria, Nigerians have, not having that liking to believe them again, because at the end of the day, we don't really get so much of it. We also, at the course of the year, we had the Beta Edu saga.
Exactly.
Which...
that's true. That's another political event.
It was another event that shook the nation. At the end of the day, she was suspended. And from the suspension, we saw that day that she's been eroded out of the federal cabinet. And that went well. We also saw the 2 very major political elections that took them under contention as we speak.
Yes,
that
obviously
shows that INEC has not... changed from the usual INEC we knew in 2023 general election. So we are still calling on INEC. If we must continue to enjoy this democracy as expected to be, INEC must be a true umpire to this system, because it is he that dictates, that blows the piper, that dictates the tune. INEC must give us an election that we should be proud of at all times. We just saw what happened in Ghana election December this year, and we saw how credible it is. Nobody is in court contesting in Ghana election. Sure. So we want to also come to such level in Nigeria that not just 5 or 6 justice sitting down to now give us, the governor or president of a nation, when democracy has to do with the number of people. So at that time, when we are not talking about judges now saying, oh, this is the true person that won the election, we have pushed democracy aside. We are now looking at minority, just few people telling us that this is the right person. So we are still calling on INEC and the federal government and Nigerians as well to, let the national executive, the National Assembly, the legislators know that we need to look into electoral reform of this nation, so that any area that they are still gray, that we need to have clarity to, must be taken care of before 2027 general election comes up. Esther, when we began the year, the inflation rate of this nation was 29.9 to the 4.60 inflation, which shows that Nigeria has gone through a lot in the year, escalating price of foodstuff and others. It means it has not been better, even when the federal government is telling us that their reform is doing well. From the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, which is the government agencies, what they have told us from the statistics we got it throughout these 12 months of the year, shows that Nigeria have faced a lot of hardship, and it has not been better, from 29.9 to 34.60 now, where we are at the moment. So it's also an issue, Esther, that the government should look into come the year 2025, as we are moving into the year 2025. Esther, we also saw too where that Nigeria Bureau of Statistics also told us that 2.3 trillion was also was paid by Nigerians ransom this year alone, 2024. So we are looking at it that means the insecurity is still very much high. So the federal government also has to look into such as we are entering the year 2025. We have the Maiduguri flood in this year too, Esther, remember, which was so devastating. Many people died. Even the prison were broken down. So and all of them left the prison today. Nigeria Correctional Services have not told us the number they've recovered and those that are still missing. So, which means the insecurity we are talking of in the northwest, in the northeast, is still festering. So that Maiduguri flood was another very devastating one Nigerians went through. So please, Esther, there are quite
a lot of issues that took place in Nigerians lately. Is how Nigerians feel that this administration is unrelenting. The latest is a conversation about Niger Republic exposure and the kind of things that they were able to reveal. The presidency have always denied any establishment of a military base in Nigeria that has to do with France. But Niger's president Tinubu is saying otherwise. He's saying, in fact, he mentioned certain locations that the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu responded to, where some international collaborations hidden from the knowledge of Nigerians. Some things are taking place there, and it may not be surprising that some of the mining sites that we have in this country may be what Tinubu is referring to. The scary part is how much Tinubu knows about some of these activities, either in the north or in some of those volatile regions that the federal government has refused to tell us exactly what is going on. And in as much as they have tried, the federal government has tried to renounce all of the... How do you react to that development?
Yeah, Esther, you are quite right. Niger is a country, is a federation. They also have the same security apparatus we have in Nigeria here, both intelligence and otherwise, just as we have them. So their security chief of defense staff has actually some of the interviews that Nigeria will not entertain anything that has to do with foreign nations coming to set up a military camp or whatever establishment in Nigeria. But what we are seeing is that the recently strange collaboration that we started having with France, even when some of the Francophone countries have started, renouncing their relationship with their godfather, as it used to be, their colonial master. But today, Nigeria have, become one of the allies of France. We saw the president went there and they signed so many MOUs. And these are some of the MOUs that are actually leading to some of these things that the Niger Republic is complaining about.
But you know that the president and Emmanuel Macron, right?
Yes.
France president, they go way back. They've been friends right from time.
No, Emmanuel Macron has almost like a Nigerian. He had his internship in Nigeria, in Nigeria French village.
Yes.
He's such a person that is so familiar with Nigeria, and he's even one of the celebrators of Fela's shrine.
Exactly.
He was here all the time when he was here. So he knows much about us. So now he became president of Nigeria. That's supposed to also foster relationship, because this is somebody that actually knows much about Nigeria. But what we are looking at, if there is anything Nigeria is signing that is going to be at the detriment of this nation, Nigerians must be carried along. Let us discuss it. Let us see the advantage, what is going to be to us, whether it's going to be of advantage to us or it's going to be of disadvantage. Then we will now be able to say, no, we need this or we don't need this. Especially now that the fruits are... Yes, Esther.
What about
Remember
Yes, Esther.
What about
the supporters, the enablers?
No, forget about it. Those are just the few that are conscripted by the government to do their bidding in social media. Remember when the coup in Niger happened? Going to be more coups. You saw the one that now happened in Gabon. You know, Mabango calling.
Yes,
calling
we've
on
not heard
people.
anything about them lately.
No.
Yes,
calling
we've
on
not heard
people,
anything about them lately.
No. I mean, the military has carried on over the years that they should do the bidding of citizens are not happy with their government. That's why you saw the celebration of the overthrow of military civilian government in Niger by the civilians. They were on the street protecting this the military government and happy that the civilian government is gone. That's to tell you that the people are dissatisfied with the performance of the civilian government. So the presidents of the various West African countries need to look inward. It's not a matter of telling the countries that have ostracized themselves from ECOWAS that you must come back. You know, there was going to be like a military intervention and all that. Did it work? It never worked because the people are in support of the government that has come to power. When when you have the support of the people, you have the government. Burkina Faso people have the military government and they're happy with it. Mali, the same thing, as well as Niger. So the rest Africa countries, West Africa countries that are still managing the so-called democracy that is very fragile, the people are not enjoying, must have to look at how to make the people to be part of the government they own.
Mr. Elvis, we have an endemic issue with security. Ever since 2012 or 2014 thereabout, when the Chibok girls were kidnapped, it's been on a spiral. It almost feels like the federal government does not know how to handle it. And it has been going on for so long. Budgets, monies allocated to Nigeria's defense system, to the Navy, to the military, all in getting weaponry, fortifying the architecture of the military and all their intelligence. But there seems to be a problem. It's either they're having moles within them or somehow they find it difficult to, overwhelm these guys. It's just very recent we've been hearing of some possible developments in them eroding this terrorist. But there's a question as to the intentionality and the political will for this thing to be copped out completely. These individuals became so brazen, I'm sure you know that this year, to the extent that they went on TikTok to actually show the monies they collected from victims and the ransom and all of that. Now, you know about the recent bombing that took place in about 2 communities in Sokoto. The military had first of all denied them having to bomb any innocent civilian. In fact, the presidency came to buttress what the military said by saying that none of that happened, that statement is fake. That was the first thing the presidency said in reaction to that. The military said that their target was precise and deliberate, so they did not hurt any civilian. And then later we now heard them eventually telling us that it was a secondary explosion. So there is a problem with transparency from government agencies. When of course an information comes out, rather than telling us what it is, even if they want to be diplomatic with the truth, they first of all deny it before the truth comes out. It happened with Taurid Lakbaja. It happened also with Lakurawa, where the chief of defense staff told us that Lakurawa was a new terror group that they formed because of the frail relations Nigeria had with Niger. All for the same chief of defense staff to tell us that Lakurawa had been in existence since 2018. So when they do this inconsistency in how some of these things, how do they expect people to trust them? Which brings us back to the whole situation with what Niger's president is saying about the fact that there are collaborations with Nigeria and some foreign entities for the establishment of a military base or whatever. He was not really detailed on some certain things, but mentioning certain locations which the Nigerian security advisor said that he was going to investigate. Now, Kashim Shettima has eventually come out to apologize to the victims of the mistaken targeted bomb blast. Why do we always experience this?
Yeah, Esther, there are a couple of things. First of all, this is the era of technology, both in every in every facet of the economy or development. I think Nigeria, last time we saw the drone that killed so many in Kaduna before the Sokoto owner. Then a situation where manpower, the training of manpower is not as effective as it's supposed to be. Then the equipment, the technological equipment that are bringing in there, the people have not been so trained to be able to man them as expected. Are
you trying to defend the inadequacies so far?
No. I'm not defending it. I'm talking about the government not setting out what it's supposed to do. This Nigeria Armed Forces are supposed to have both local and foreign training where they'll be used to the use of this modern technology.
Okay.
And so that when you are striking a target, you are hitting a target, you know that target is actually where you are aiming
So could it be those foreign elements are here training our military men, but the government doesn't want it known? Could that be the possibility? Could that be what Tichani is referring to?
Where we saw that they said there is going to be a kind of collaborative training between French military and Nigerian military, that there is nothing like military base.
Okay.
If there is such training and it's transparent, it's a good one. Because we need such advanced training to be able to tackle these people. We have actually seen them at ragtag. We have been underrating them. But over the years, we have now seen that from Boko Haram to ISWAP, and now we now have Lakurawa. Who says that another one will not come up in 2025 if we don't have the adequate training to handle them? So Nigeria military armed forces need that exposed training that will be able to fish out. Esther, we saw a TikTok video. Who says can you have such TikTok video in Israel? An Israeli army will not be able to find out where that video was taken and people behind it and smoke them out. It's not possible. We have seen what they are doing in Gaza. That even all the underground tunnels and all that, they have all the equipment under the hospital or whatever public institutions where they feel that they are sacred, that the people will not, the military is not supposed to, raid when there is war. We see how they are, unearthing them now and raiding them. But we are seeing live video, not on that grand one, so transparent outside in Nigeria, and Nigeria military cannot trace them. Nigerian armed forces cannot trace them, which means we still have a depth of training that Nigeria armed forces need to go, and the equipment must be provided. That brings us to the few names you mentioned, especially the time of Buratai as chief of army staff.
Yes.
At the time, Nigerians were like, this chief of army staff, all of them, chief of Nigeria armed forces chiefs, both the chief of army staff, navy and air force at that time was like they were no longer doing, they were, bereft of idea concerning the
how
security.
to deal with
the situation.
Because they couldn't handle the moles within them.
They could not handle it. Nigerians were like calling for a change. But the president we have that time was so adamant until the change became so, too necessary that Buhari now looked at it and, towards the end of his regime and administration and now changed them. You now saw military now attracting
leaders intervene.
So there are still so much. So many Nigerians have died innocently in this regard as a result of, just picking them up, tagging them, one of the terrorist group, and extorting them, taking whatever they want to take from them, and even tag them and put them in detention, or some of them are shot innocently. So a situation where we have this on hand, this is why, we are looking at the coming of the state police 2025. Now that almost all the state governors have bought the idea of setting up a state police in their respective states. Let's see that if the state police comes in, the power that have been wielded by this federal police, at least will be reduced to some extent. Because the orientation the federal police has started from the British era. The British, set up the police to use to protect them and fester their own image, fester their own ego, especially to, bring down the Nigerian who were, challenging some of the authorities there. Deal with them extravagant. I mean, is it this kind of era you begin to call Nigeria Police Force? That name force by now ought to be changed. We just saw Nigeria Correctional Center where they now change the prisons to Correctional Center. We also need to have Nigeria Police Service where it will be, appealing to the civilians. When you say force, that means these people at all time, after using their batting and they can also go as well as using their guns to extort whatever they want to extort from you, whether money or investigation or whatever. So we need to have a holistic look into the police system in Nigeria. The name has to be changed to reflect what we are going through. That we are in a civilian administration, democratic administration, where you and I are supposed to be contributors to what is happening to all the organizations of the government that are not doing the bidding of the people. Police is one of them. Absolutely one of them. So if the state police says true by 2025, let us see that the state police should have a human face towards Nigerians more than the federal police that we have ever had over the years. What led to we have ever had over the years since the British era till now. We have ever had over the years since the British era till now, that whatever they want to get from you and Esther must be gotten through force.
All right, Mr. Elvis, before we open the phone lines, El-Rufai, former governor of Kaduna State, actually had to react to what Nigerians have been saying about this. He had to react to what Nigerians have been saying about this administration concerning appointments. They allege that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has faced allegations of stacking top federal positions with people of his ethnic group. This action has evoked recollections of Mr. Buhari's near exclusive installation of only northern Muslims into top federal offices throughout his 8-year tenure between 2015 and 2023. Now, the Muslim Rights Concern and Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria also criticized the president for favoring the Southwest in his key appointments, accusing the president of destructive sectionalism and lopsidedness. Critics said Mr. El-rufai, a northerner, did not condemn Mr. Buhari during his time, but instead praised most of the appointments as merited and devoid of ethnic and religious sentiment, a talking point now adopted by Mr. Tinubu's supporters to justify the overwhelming Yoruba occupation of federal ministries and agencies. So the question is, why is El-rufai complaining now? When his principal, when he was the governor of Kaduna State under the administration of Muhammadu Buhari, these complaints were paramount. Nigerians complained of lack of federal character or federal representation across most of these public sectors. You had the northerners occupying several positions, very few southwesterners, and almost non-existent southeast members in any of his cabinet. And the president has said he's going to continue from exactly. So
stops,
why are they complaining? Why are they surprised? Why is El-rufai deciding to bear all now? Because he's been quiet before. Since the elections were over, he kept mute. He was supposed to get a nomination, but the House declined it. And then since then, on the political scene, he's been mute. Unless when he told us how a certain governor came to meet him to ask him how they could tweak the election results to favor them, that he was able to disclose. But since then, he's been mute until now. So why talking now?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Esther, he's not speaking as a nationalist. A nationalist must be able to see the wrong in every government, irrespective of the tribe the government comes from. He didn't see it as wrong during Buhari 8 years.
Okay.
But he's saying it's very wrong now because a southwestern person is now in the saddle of the leadership of Nigeria. If he has spoken about this, nepotism in terms of appointment during Buhari, I would have been very comfortable listening to him now and be part of it. We know so much has become so wrong in this nation that by the time you are there, you are going to bring in your cohort, your village people and your townsmen to be part of the government, because the national cake must be shared and my people must benefit from it, which is very wrong. It plays down on the intelligence of Nigerians, which means mediocres cannot be picked into government. We are no longer talking of the intellect, those that are coming to do the bidding that will, take Nigerians out of where we are today. So you just bring in mediocres, bring in riffraffs from your own region, provided the government favors you and your region, which is very wrong. So El-rufai crying now. This cry ought to have started since 2015 when Buhari, surrounded himself and even told Nigerians that he can only work with those people he trusts. I don't know whether the trustworthy Nigerians are only found from his tribe during his 8 years. Today now we saw the president, Tinubu, who already told us that he was going to continue from where Buhari stopped, started also from his own angle now, bringing in all his Lagos boys. I think that's why he's reacting to it now. If he didn't
but Sunday Dari said that he gave us a breakdown of each of the regions and the appointments given, and he said there are more northerners actually represented in defense to his principle.
Well, it depends on the position, Esther. If we are looking at the major positions today, we actually know that the southwesterners occupied them, right from the CBN governor to the finance minister, down to head of customs, the director general, controller general of customs, to immigration. You see, these are very key positions. So you see, they are occupied by even the FROS, Federal Inland Revenue Services. These are positions that are occupied by Southwesterners. And these are the things that they are also complaining of, today now in the North, because they are looking at it that it didn't favor them the way it's supposed to. But they have forgotten that 8 years of Buhari, that's why other part of Nigerians were complaining of it. Today, nobody is talking, the South is not talking about any favor from in terms of appointment. So also the Southeast, it is just the North now that sees it as an affront to them, because what they expected is not what they are getting. That's why they are crying. But we cried this generally throughout Buhari's 8 years. They never supported us. So it has come to stay in Nigeria now that if you are there, you have to bring in your kinsmen, whom you believe that they are the one that will be able to help you to move your government,
They
not
actually,
Nigerians.
for example, you have Governor Mohammed threatening the president to reverse his tax reforms or the North will fight
Bala
and
Mohammed,
show you their
yes.
true colors. What kind of statement is that?
Well, Bala Mohammed, first of all, they will say he's coming from an opposition. It's a PDP governor. But truly, if there are areas, Nigerians are afraid. So many Nigerians are afraid because we have seen what tax has become in Lagos. You and I live in Lagos. We see Alpha Beta has taken over the tax system in Lagos over the years. And Nigerians are like, I hope this one that is we are still deliberating on now do not resort to what we have in Lagos like Alpha Beta system. So again, let it not be that one person is collecting and another person is removing some chunk.
But they
of-
said there
chunk of
it's
it.
open for negotiations and all of that. So why
they are-
not
they are-
wait
they are
for
open
things to be looked
negotiation.
into?
We need to see more town hall meetings. We have started seeing them. We started
Okay.
seeing, the one that was organized. I saw.
But the
I think last
president
month.
has pressed
But the
that
president in his
he
chat said it must
that
stay. He has
tax
come to
reform is
stay.
here to
Yes,
stay.
Minister, yes.
Well, a couple of critics will say that they like the president. I mean, a lot of persons have always been afraid of the North, the northern power, probably because of the large landmass and the fact that they determine how elections go. So anybody who wants to campaign either in 2027 or 2031 will always need to solicit and look for how they'll have the North on their side. And others have said the president has broken that jinx of having to need the North to win. Because, looking at the last election, which was very low for a president, 8 million, he expected to be more than that. So, majority of the support, where did it come from in the 2023 election in terms of region? Did the North, were they the ones that actually helped him push through?
North actually has it. But one thing you should understand, Esther, the monolithic North that we used to be afraid of in this part of the world, in the certain part of Nigeria, has gone.
Okay.
You see, now northern Nigeria has so many divisive system in them now.
Okay, yeah.
So sometimes you see Arewa will speak to this side, and the youth wing of Arewa will come and counter it.
That is those who are quite educated anyways.
Yes,
Because we're looking at how
yes.
they are able to mobilize
Yes,
those
so-
who are uneducated on
Yes.
that particular
we
day.
have even seen another one that is coming up now, the Northern, whatever, the one that visited Obasanjo League.
Northern League.
Northern League. They
For
visited
Northern
Obasanjo
League,
last time.
yes.
Obasanjo told them the true color that if you are giving it, no, it's not a sectional country.
Yes.
And I love him for that. He speaks the truth
Yes,
to
that's his
whatever.
mind.
Yeah, he's bare his mind and whatever. And he said they should go back and work on the name. So before he can even think of what the agenda they have for Nigeria, which is correct. By the time we keep on hearing of North, we keep on hearing of South, we are talking about that this is not a nation. And this is even the issue that has led to all this agitation we have now. Part of it is what we have in the Southeast. If this is not a nation we have been ostracized over the years, let us quick live and be on our own.
So Nnamdi Kanu is going to spend Christmas.
No, he has.
and
I mean, Christmas is already gone. We're even
New
talking
Year.
of the New Year. We are
So,
talking about
and we're not hearing any latest development on the
no
case
development at this moment. I've always told you, Esther, Nnamdi Kanu may be released, but he got to release on political ground because of 2027 election.
But when you say political ground, president did not even look at it. It wasn't
He's
even
going to-
something
he's-
that was
he's not-
considered
he's
during
not-
the presidential
he's-
chat.
no.
Remember, a couple of people feel that maybe that animosity is there because at the time before Nnamdi Kanu was, taken into custody, he spoke vehemently against Tinubu. And how are we sure that the president will want to consider that political resolution? So the question now is, if the court cannot do its thing, then why the continuous detention? You have Bodejo who has been released, right? You have Igbohotu who has been released. So what is the delay? What are they looking into? If you can have somebody that can stay as a shorty to say, you know what, we will make sure that this man comes to court when he needs to come to court. If you don't want him to travel out of the country, but make sure that he is safe, because that's what made him leave the other time when they invaded his home and killed some people in his home. So why can't that process be implemented?
The delay, Esther, apart from the government having a hand in it, let me say 70% of Nnamdi being delayed, still incarceration, is coming from the Southeast.
But the Southeast have denied that it is not
They
them.
are already the political leaders of Southeast. I keep telling you, have not bought into the idea of Nnamdi Kanu being released. They are seeing Nnamdi Kanu coming out to take over their position.
So you mean meetings that they had together, the letters they said they wrote the other time was just what?
Who are the writers? Who are those? Is he writing the letter?
We saw them
writing
now.
the
They all
letter.
came
Who
together.
are those that are working on executing, implementing that letter they wrote? Esther, the letter can be written on daytime and we see submitted in Asoro. But do we know what happened afterward at night? Politicians do that letter. We just bring our Oga. You know what it means at the moment. So this administration might use Nnamdi Kanu to want to raise their ego, to fester their ego in the Southeast, when there is going to be much of alignment and realignment between 2025 and 2026. When they see that the alignment is not going to favor the government in power, they may decide to release Nnamdi Kanu to see whether they will use that to get that cheap popularity that they will need from the Southeast towards 2027 general election. Those are the things you are going to see. It's going to be released, but you know the president will not come and start telling you I will release it tomorrow. Even in the presidential chart, he's not going to mention such. We saw a University of Abuja just named after Yakubu Gowon a week ago or so. Did we ever hear it? We never heard it. He just made the announcement. One day, such announcement of the releasing of Nnamdi Kanu is going to come, and this is going to come on the ground that so many of these political leaders in the Southeast would have done their homework, making sure that they use that to have a better inroad into Southeast during 2027 general election. Like we're already aware now they have 2 states in the Southeast. And they want to have more in 2027 general election because these are the only area the APC are going to use to buy people's votes in 2027 election. You and I know too well that Nigerians ordinarily will not stand on the queue to vote for APC 2027. But the political leaders of the Southeast
will influence it.
Yes, they will influence it, and they will not come and say yes because you release Nnamdi Kanu. Yeah, you see the Southeasterners have now, be part of the government. It is
so
not
you
the South.
You think it's going to be like a bait?
It's going to be, but let me tell you, Esther, that is not going to be the issue. But they will do that, and at the end of the day, they will now manipulate whatever they want to manipulate and use that Nnamdi Kanu's releasing as cover up. That's what is going to happen in 2027. They will release him.
All right, you're still listening to the Political Spotlight. It's time for us to get your perception or your purview to some of the issues that we have tried within the duration to bring to light. So the number to call is 0700 903 903 903 0700 903 903 903. The WhatsApp number is 0817 1756 338. Hello, good evening. How are you?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Name and location, please.
My name is Innocent. I'm calling from Mahmoud of Estate.
All right, Innocent. Please go ahead.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Please, he doesn't supposed to complain about it. Let him know that he have started before. So Tinubu did not do what others have not done. And the only way I cannot blame Mr. President, which is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is when Buhari is doing his own time, he's giving almost all the nods. Now, Tinubu, as a president of Nigeria from South, should also share it to the South so that we now know that he's our own. Because after Tinubu finishes 8 years, South will not get any. They are following Nigerians. That's why people will now say that people have repented the Boko Haram. And they recruit them. Say that people have repented the Boko Haram. And they recruit them for army. Then when they want pro bomb, I don't know whether you want. Then when they want pro bomb, I don't know whether you want to send them, make them go throw bomb, go see their brother. They throw the bomb back.